Well, the time is just gone 4:33 p.m. as we continue keeping you company this Ramadan on the Iftar Drive with myself, Inayet Wadee, and wonderfully able to join us, to our listeners, our viewers on the various platforms of Salam Media. We trust and hope that you are enjoying the mercy, the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are enjoying the beauty and the blessings of this glorious month of Ramadan, alhamdulillah, which is sadly in a few days' time it will be ending. But alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been most kind to us. And even more importantly, it is a month where many of us do a lot more than we usually do. We go the extra mile. And also when it comes to our zakah, discharging our zakah, many of us prefer discharging our zakah in the month of Ramadan. And we use that as a yardstick to measure from year on year in terms of discharging our zakah. And this is exactly what we are talking about this afternoon. We're talking about zakah in focus. We are talking with Showkat Mukadam, who is the second deputy chairperson of the South African National Zakah Fund. And we'll be taking a look at a number of issues, amongst them being business assets. Brother Showkat Ali, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome and Jazakallah khairan so much for your time.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Inayet, and also to your viewers and your listeners. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, alhamdulillah, we are heading towards the end of the month of Ramadan. We've got the last few days as well. But obviously looking at zakah, and as I mentioned, many people discharge their zakah in the month of Ramadan, or they at least take out their zakah, and sometimes they discharge it throughout the year as well. But it's important for us, obviously, to continue our focus on zakah and to understand, get a better understanding on zakah, which is exactly what we are doing this afternoon. We're talking about business assets as well. And let's start off by talking about, Brother Showkat Ali, an individual who can own wealth in different capacities, and perhaps, just to understand owning of wealth and to highlight the multiple capacities, of wealth that a person can own.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah again. We emphasize the importance of zakah, and a lot of people pay it in the month of Ramadan, obviously. However, there are 4 conditions needed to be present before I go into the different categories, and my colleagues of SANZAF covered this before. Namely, any surplus wealth that you have must lend itself to growth. You must have total ownership, and you must have the minimum nisab. And the minimum nisab must be with you for a year. Now, when it comes to the different capacities for business owners run their business in different forms. Namely, they run it as a sole trader, and they sometimes run it in partnerships, typically medical practitioners. We then also have the situation that many of these individuals run their business in a close corporation or company, and some even go further and set up trust structures. So all these entities, irrespective of how you set up your entities, you are still liable as a Muslim to pay zakah on what we call the zakatable assets of a business in these entities. So irrespective of which form your entity takes, it is still your duty bound to calculate your zakah to the extent of your ownership of these entities, and to work out the figures and pay it correctly.
Yes. Now, also, you've mentioned, Showkat, earlier that we have to pay zakat in one's business capacity. And let's just try and understand and unpack that in terms of, understanding, and also at the same time, if you could highlight the assets, what type of assets we actually pay zakah on when it comes to a business.
So as I indicated earlier on, there are 4 conditions before any asset is subject to zakah. Namely, that you must be able to freely own the asset and do with the asset as you wish to do. In other words, if you've pledged the asset, say for example, money with a bank, and you've pledged it, you're not entitled to do with it as you wish to do, and hence that amount will not attract zakah. So the first condition is that you must be able to do it with the asset as you wish to. The second condition is that the asset must lend itself to growth. So by implication, all businesses that have machinery and plant and trucks, those assets typically does not lend itself to growth. And hence, those kind of assets, which we call fixed assets, do not lend itself to growth, and therefore they're not zakatable assets. Other assets like stock and money in the bank, and customers that owe you, lend itself to growth and therefore in circulating assets, and therefore it is zakatable. Thirdly, the asset must be, you must have reached a minimum amount of nisab, and this is based on 612 grams of silver, and the conversion of that is about 9,500 rand in rand terms. So you've got to have the minimum nisab throughout the year that you're doing your accounting for in terms of paying your zakah. And lastly, this minimum nisab must be with you for the full year. Once you meet those requirements, we then look at what we call are the surplus assets. And these surplus assets in a business is what we call those assets that are liquid assets and very close circulating assets. And typically, in most cases, they are stock in your business that you sell, customers that owe you money. In the case of a doctor, it will be the patients that owe you their money. And lastly, money in the bank, really, of that. So once you've accumulated those kind of numbers, you then are allowed to take off from that those immediate liabilities payable. For example, you will owe your suppliers for money, you will owe SARS for VAT and PAYE and those kind of things. You are required to take that off as a deduction. And from the net figure, you are required to pay 2.5% on that as your zakah contribution.
Yes. Now, the one issue I'd like to talk about is stock and the valuation of stock. And we know, people own retail stores, and some own even more than one retail store. And, just to look at how would if I had to own more than one retail store, how would I actually value the stock in my business, Showkat?
So again, Inayet, this is the important point. I think part of the problem historically has been that people think that you pay zakah only on money in the bank. However, as in the case of a business, it's not only payable on money in the bank, but also on your stock and customers that owe you money. In the case of stock, the advice and the scholars have reached consensus that it should be dealt with as if the stock is sold in one lump sum. In other words, not the retail price of it. And the better way to achieve that is to look at the wholesale price of all the stock in your stores. So whether you have one store or many stores, that doesn't matter. You aggregate all that stock and you ask yourself, what would I achieve if I sell this as one lump sum? Or maybe an alternative is, what will I be able to achieve for this, or achieve for this in value if I sell it as a wholesale? Now, it's important that we typically think of a grocery store and we think of groceries in the store. But stock, in the case of a motor vehicle dealer, are all the cars on the floor. So we're talking about those cars as stock. In the case of somebody who builds houses, it's the value of those completed houses, which is stock on his records, effectively. So stock may mean different things to different people, and arriving at the wholesale value of it may mean different things to different people. So the criteria is, what is stock? That is your business. What you buy and sell regularly, calculated on the basis of the wholesale value as if you had sold it in one lump sum. And that's the amount which is going to be zakatable. The important thing about zakah is it's not intended to create hardship. In other words, don't speculate what the retail price would be that you would be achieving for it, as you know. In this case, the guidance has been, let's use the wholesale price, and that will be a good benchmark, and remain consistent with it from year to year. In other words, if you've used wholesale in 1 year, do not switch to retail the following year, and the year thereafter come back to a wholesale pricing process. Really keep consistent with the process that you decided on.
Well, Showkat, I hear what you're saying in terms of consistency, and this is the next question in terms of, what happens if for the past a couple of years, I have calculated zakah, on stock in a certain way, And now that I've heard your advice and you speak about, obviously stay consistent. And if you're looking at valuing your stock at the wholesale price or whatever it is. But what if I want to change it? Do I have to go back, recalculate my zakah of the previous years? Because say in previous years, if I calculated it, say at retail value, and you're saying I'm doing it now at wholesale value, I mean, what happens in that situation?
I think, brother, in that, and to the viewers and listeners out there, I think it's so important that we treat this zakah calculation much more serious than what we have done historically. First of all, the first advice I want to give is to keep a record of how you've arrived at the zakah amount payable. And once you have that calculation recorded every year and indicated how you worked out the value of stock, you can go back. Secondly, it is a pillar of Islam. It is somebody's right who has not got that amount of nisab that's entitled to receive zakah, that you have denied that person receiving it by not calculating the zakah correctly. Whenever you receive the advice to do it correctly, the requirement is that you go back and you do the calculation correctly, because it's an act of ibadah. It's a pillar of Islam, and you want to be totally compliant in the sense that there is a spiritual dimension, as has been previously covered. So my advice is, please go back and make the calculation, because at the end of the day, the amount that you have to pay extra is only 2.5% of that differential figure. So we're not talking about substantial amounts of money ultimately. In this case, it's 2.5% of that differential that you didn't calculate correctly. And my advice strongly is that to have the ultimate satisfaction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do the calculation correctly and pay the amounts over correctly.
Perfect. Brother Showkat, we're going to put you on hold. I need to take an air break, but I know that there are still a number of issues that we'd like to cover, and purely from a business perspective, whether we're looking at trusts, we're looking at even things like employee schemes, within companies, all those type of things as well. I think this is very, very important, and this is the reason why I think this discussion is just so important. So we'll put you on hold. We'll be back after this air break.
Inshallah.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
Welcome to Pharaoh Auto Investments, where luxury meets perfection. Located at 92 Rivonia Road, Santon, on Level 2 and Level 3, our showroom is a sanctuary of opulence. Step into the realm of prestige as you explore our exquisite collection of luxury vehicles, meticulously curated to meet the highest standards of quality and sophistication. But that's not all. Introducing Origins by Pharaoh, our sister company dedicated to offering affordable luxury vehicles without compromising on quality. Experience elegance within reach. Ready to embark on your journey to luxury? Contact us today at 011 444 9460 or email us at info@pharaohgroup.com for more information. Ramadan Mubarak to all our valued customers. Pharaoh Auto Investments and Origins by Pharaoh, where luxury is a lifestyle.
Abu Hurairah narrated that he heard the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, "In black seed there is a healing for every disease except death." This Ramadan, experience the health benefits of this ancient blessed seed by using the Tib Black Seed range. Black seed assists the body to boost immunity, regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, and act as a potent antioxidant. Experience a holistic approach to health by introducing the Tib Black Seed range into your Ramadan routine. Available in capsules, pure cold-pressed oil, and a vapor rub. Trust Tib Health Sciences for quality black seed products. For more information, visit blackseed.co.za. Available at leading pharmacies.
In the Eastern Cape, children are facing unimaginable hunger. A baby was rescued, fed only powdered drink. A young girl lost her life searching for food. Children eat grass to survive and return to school on Mondays too hungry to learn, some even crying from hunger. Teachers and principals are giving what little they have, but it's not enough. This Ramadan, you can make a difference. Help us support Muslim families in Gqeberha and rural Eastern Cape. Together, we can feed hope, fight hunger, foster change. Donate to the Al-Fida Foundation. Send your proof of payments to admin@alfida.co.za for Section 18A tax certificates or contact us on 041 484 1288.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
This Ramadan, join hands with Muslim hands to make a meaningful difference in the lives of millions worldwide. Your zakah and sadaqah can be the lifeline for those in need. Together we can nourish the hungry in South Africa and across the globe, offer clean water to impoverished communities, empower women with sustainable livelihoods, and bring relief to families grappling with the aftermath of natural disasters and conflict. Be their beacon of hope today. Connect with us at muslimhands.org.za or dial 021 633 6413 to extend your support.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this.
Well, we continue our broadcast this afternoon. We continue our discussion with SANZAF. We speak with Showkat Mukadam, and we are talking about zakah. We're talking about business assets, but also moving away from business assets, Showkat Ali. Let us move on to trust, because this is another area that sometimes appears to be a gray area when it comes to zakah, and just to understand, how does one actually pay zakah if assets are held in a trust? Is the trust responsible for the zakah?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As you know, people in the South African context use trust for various other reasons, namely, you minimize your death taxes payable, and death taxes payable on your death. You don't have to pay any death taxes. Secondly, you avoid an estate process, and therefore it's very seamless. But in essence, often the trust is just a hold of the individual's assets, the planner, as we call it in this case. And ultimately, zakah is liable on those assets. If it's a what we call a discretionary trust, in other words, the planners form the trust, but he still has to decide who's going to get the benefit. Ultimately, the essence of this trust in substance is that the trust is driven by the planner, and it is his asset from a zakah point of view, not from a South African law point of view. I always say the test is, have you really parted with the assets in your heart when you part with the assets to the trust? And in most cases, the answer is no, because you have formed this trust more to save you estate duty and death taxes and avoid an estate process, as I indicated. And therefore, if you have any zakatable assets in the kind of that we just spoke about, whether it's stock and whether it is money in the bank, investments that are zakatable, and amounts that customers owe you, if you run your business through a trust, you deduct the immediate liabilities from those summation of those items, and therefore those items will attract 2.5%. Most of those people who draft trust deeds these days even include a clause in the trust deed to say that the trust is liable for zakah on the zakatable assets, to make it clear that those assets are in this instrument of a trust just for a convenience means to avoid death taxes and also the estate process. So those assets are zakatable, and that's in substance what it should be.
But also, Showkat, where there are beneficiaries within a trust and they have this vested interest or this vested right in the assets, who actually would pay the zakah on these assets?
As you know, a trust is managed by trustees and they are beneficiaries of a trust. Once you become a vested beneficiary, those vested interests are your interests, and therefore the beneficiary should be liable to pay zakah on it. We call it a discretionary trust, but once a decision has been made in a discretionary trust that the assets are allocated to a beneficiary, the beneficiary is entitled to do with the assets as he wishes to do with the assets. And as long as it meets the criteria again that it lends itself to growth and is above the nisab value, and the person is zakatable in the sense that they held the nisab for a year, then those assets should be subject to zakah in the hands of the beneficiary.
Let's move on and let's talk about shares. If one has shares in a listed company, how would I calculate my zakah on shares?
The strict rule of valuing shares in listed companies is that you need to look for those zakatable assets in the listed company on the particular date that you have selected to pay your zakah. Now, that's an impossible task, really, because no public company, listed company, is going to make the information available regularly to you when it is your calculation date, really. So the recommendation, therefore, is to treat the listed shares as an investment, because you can easily convert it to cash the very next day, and hence, therefore, you should take the market value of your listed shares and pay your zakah amount on that. But the strict ruling is that you should be looking for zakatable assets of that listed company. But because you don't have access to that kind of information, being a listed company, you will then treat that as an investment on the basis that you can easily convert that to cash, and therefore the equivalent of the market value of that should be subject to zakah.
Okay, and let's just talk about incentive-based employee schemes. Does one pay zakah on those?
So again, I go back to the starting point, and that's why I highlighted those 4 conditions that I started with. Assets which are totally free in your hands to do as you wish to do with the assets, lends itself to growth, you've got a minimum amount of nisab, and you've held the nisab for the year, those assets are subject to zakah. In the case of empowerment schemes, and most likely these are shares that are held by staff members and senior management and executives, if you meet the criteria of those 4 conditions, then the market value of those shares are zakatable, the market value. Now, most incentive schemes and empowerment schemes have conditions, namely that you must hold it for so many years before you can sell it. It must be a certain amount of profits in the company before you can entitled to exercise your right. Those conditions prohibit you to deal with the shares as you wish to do, and therefore they're not freely available to do with it as you wish to. However, the moment those shares become freely available to do as you wish to do, then you need to look at the market value, and providing you meet the other condition of nisab, then you are liable to pay on the market value of those empowerment shares.
There's just so many scenarios, one can actually look at. And the other one would be offshore, because I know nowadays, there's a lot of talk about people who own businesses, but also have offshore investments. And just to understand, whether a person would be paying zakah on these investments, and more importantly, how would one actually calculate this, Showkat?
Look, if you have offshore investments in the form of businesses, first of all, the criteria I've just put out to you still apply. Doesn't matter. If it is in foreign currency, you've got to translate it. And if you wish to pay the zakah in the South African context, you've got to translate it to rands, and you've got to pay the equivalent of zakah on that in the South African context. If, for example, you're based in overseas countries, in the UK or Dubai, if you wish to pay it out in those countries, you will apply the same principles, but translate it into obviously the local currency. That's very different from people having offshore investments, and which with the Reserve Bank allowing you the annual allowance to invest offshore, many people have offshore accounts and have offshore investments. All you do on the date that you are liable to assess yourself for zakah, you need to take the market value of those investments, translate it again to rands if you wish to have it paid in South Africa, and pay it in that context of the 2.5% on that value. If it is overseas, you are obviously paid in the local currencies overseas. But the point of this all is that these assets, never mind in what form it takes, only your private assets and those machinery and vehicles and tools of trade that you do use in your business, they are not zakatable assets. Anything else, which we say is equivalent of investments, money in the bank, stock, customers that owe you money, are zakatable assets, and you're allowed to deduct the immediate liabilities. So if you have a long-term loan, you don't take off the capital balance of the long-term loan, you take off the immediate installment payable from those items that I've just mentioned, and you pay on the net only 2.5%. Brother Inayet, you can do with your 97.5% as you wish to. Satisfy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pillar of Islam to discharge your responsibility by paying only 2.5%, and you can do as you wish to do with the 97.5%.
Well, absolutely. I think you couldn't have said it any better, Showkat. Showkat, just finally, work in progress. Now, I know it can apply to a property business where, how would one actually value stock if your properties are not completed yet, partially completed properties. It could be work out to the same thing in a manufacturing environment as well, where you are manufacturing product and selling work in progress, partly, processed products, for want of a better term. How would one actually look at zakat in that context?
Yeah, Brother Inayet, look, work in progress is very much akin to stock, really, if you think about it. There are various parts that make up work in progress, various ingredients and so on, and there should be a basis of costing those ingredients whilst it's in a work in progress state. Whether you're building houses, you would know that you build a house a quarter way, a halfway, or a third way. There are many tools to assess it. Similarly, in the factory, you know that you're producing bottles of tomato sauce or whatever other ingredients. You will know to the extent that where the process is, and that's how you arrive at your full costing. In this case, you would assess what is the costing to that extent. You're required to cost all those things in the work in process process. And again, once you come to that determination, you're required to include that in your calculation of zakah. The point really, again, and to emphasize, it's quite interesting, Brother Inayet, that when we come to our taxes, our normal taxes, we're so meticulous about our record keeping, that we want to make sure that we account for the taxes to the government. When it comes to your liability of your zakah and your zakah payable, in the context that my colleagues have expressed before, this is a pillar of Islam. You should treat it as more importantly than worrying about the calculation for zakah, for taxes. And hence, we encourage you to start keeping a record. We encourage you to consult us. We provide a consulting service to business houses. Ultimately, I want to say that we think that we want to encourage business houses to treat this more seriously, because for too long have they calculated it very much lightly, very much on the business of bank balances and so on. If you've now found out that zakah is payable on stock, the zakah is payable on your customers' amount that they owe you, do the exercise and pay it over correctly. Because if we do pay the zakah correctly, we really believe that within this context of the South African economy, the amount of zakah will go a long mile to elevate the poverty. And ultimately, the payment, collection, and distribution of zakah is a redistribution of wealth from those who have to those who are entitled to have the zakah paid to them, really. So I really encourage the businesses to contact us if they wish to, or contact the offices, and we provide a consulting service to encourage people to pay the correct amount of zakah.
Well, Brother Showkat, I must say, alhamdulillah, we've covered a fair amount of ground, alhamdulillah, and so much value that has been added by having this discussion with yourself today. I think there's a lot that we can actually take away from the, especially looking at it at a business level, on a business level, and also, for people who are investors, for people who are entrepreneurs. All of this, I think, very, very useful information. And the fact that, you provide that service, that consulting service to businesses, that's also very, very encouraging. And we would encourage businesses, who are obviously in doubt or who need clarity or who need the type of consultation that SANZAF is offering, alhamdulillah, to take advantage of this and to get in touch with SANZAF. But for now, we must say Jazakallah khairan so much to you for taking time out and being part and parcel of this broadcast with us right here on Salam Media. All the best to you, Brother Showkat. Allah Ta'ala accept. Allah reward all your efforts, and also to SANZAF as an organization, the wonderful work that you are doing, inshallah, from a poverty alleviation point of view, in terms of social responsibility, in terms of empowerment. I know there's just so much that SANZAF has achieved over the years, the professionalism, alhamdulillah, under the guidance of the experts that you have. I've seen your annual reports come out year after year, alhamdulillah, and I must say very, very impressive, transparent, and there's just so much that one can actually take away from this organization. So alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala keep it that way, and Allah Ta'ala accept all your efforts, and enjoy the rest of Ramadan as well. Remember us in your du'as.
Jazakallah for this, Brother Inayet, and I trust that you will also enjoy the last few days of Ramadan, inshallah.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, that was Brother Showkat Mukadam joining us this afternoon. And I must say, an extremely important, a very, very useful discussion, particularly for people who are owning businesses. It just provides just so much clarity on the issue of zakat. Let us not treat this thing lightly, as Brother Showkat mentioned, when it comes to our taxes. We are so meticulous in keeping our records because we are scared of SARS. We are scared that the taxman is going to get hold of us. But remember, zakat, at the end of the day, this is a fifth pillar of Islam, an important injunction, and it is a haq, it is the right of the recipients of this of zakat. And remember, we will not see any decrease in our wealth in discharging the obligation. In fact, there is just so much barakah, and we've seen it over and over again. We've seen it with many, many people. The more they discharge, the more their businesses actually grow, and this is the barakah of zakah, and this is why this is so important. The time is just gone 6 minutes past 5. We still got Imtiaz Sayed Etiquini Secure coming to join us before we hand over the reins to Maulana Yunus Kawanga to take you through to the time of iftar in Johannesburg.